My guest today is Brendan Neal, and we've had this wonderful conversation about swimming and supporting the Currimundi and Nambour Special Schools. Brendan, how can people help support those schools?
Just look up islandcharityswim.com.au or look me up on Facebook.
Fabulous. I'm Robin Cook. This is Stories from the Red Couch. I know you'll love it. So, Brendan, I'm really curious. I read somewhere where you said you've moved from sympathy to empathy when it comes to raising money for the special schools that you're working with. How did that process happen? Is it like an overnight thing or is it over time?
That's a great question. Look, I think in everything where it starts on any charity event or something, there's usually a certain amount of sympathy towards a cause or towards something that needs some help or some help from the community there. And I guess where I started with the Island Charity Swim, which supports the special schools here on the Sunshine Coast, is that I saw a great event that really helped some people who I thought really needed a lot of help. And that were kids that were of very high needs, both physically and mentally usually, and their families, and then that rest of the school community that looks after them. So are you aware of the Island Charity Swim?
Well, tell me a bit more about it, because look, over the years, and I think that pretty much everyone on the Sunshine Coast, if you don't know about it, you will in a minute, knows about it.
Yeah.
But maybe not in great detail. Tell us.
Yeah, so basically it's a bunch of people who get together every year and they raise funds and awareness for the special schools. They do this by doing a swim. We start off from Mudjimba Beach, swim around Old Woman Island, which is very scenic, and then swim all the way down to Mooloolaba. So it's about 11 kilometres of swimming on the wrong side of the shark nets. So
there's just that edginess to it as well.
Pretty much. You're a fair way offshore there. But it's okay. We don't talk about that bit. But primarily it's a group of people, and it changes over the years, but it was started by two really big-hearted gentlemen, Bill Hoffman and Ashley Tugboat Robinson, and they just saw a need there at the schools and they just started helping out and just did something ridiculous. And like all great things in Australia, something ridiculous started and a lot of people jumped on board. So that's been going for about 19 years and I've been involved for 11 years.
That's incredible, isn't it? That's really quite a long time. And I guess over that time you'd see a fairly high turnover of people being involved. Are there still people there that were there from the start?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm just one of hundreds of people who've helped out. And there's, some years there's the same people there every year, year in, year out. And other times there's people who go away for a few years and then come back and help out. Or there's those that, don't have a lot to do with it, but just come and help out on the day or something. So it is a really, to me, it's always been a beautiful part of our community in our region, in that you've got all these great people who step up and help other people who, need a hand.
That's wonderful. Recently, though, you didn't do just one swim, did you? No, you did how many swims in how many days?
Yeah, so I did 10 of the swims in 10 days. Yeah, so each day I did that swim just by myself or with a friend who was on a jet ski, making sure
you were
I was okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. Why did you do that?
Oh, I was out of action earlier in the year, just a little short stay in hospital, so I missed out on the swim. It would have been my 10th year. So I thought, well, I'm going to have a crack at doing it 10 times just to celebrate what I missed out on the 10th year.
So you did that. And I'm interested too around how, because I think it's part of a larger interaction with a community group. How does it make you feel, and how do you think it demonstrates being involved to your boys? Because you've got two boys, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What do you think it gives to them that you're doing this?
sort of, there's a lot of things that go hand in hand there. I've always said I get a lot out of it personally, just doing it. Not only physically because you do a bit of training and you stay active and everything, but there's a lot of satisfaction you get out of not only helping people, but that achievement of doing that swim and doing other things around there, encouraging other people to join in and sort of highlighting the needs, I guess, of the special schools. So for me, it's... yeah, I really try, and with my boys, they're 12 and 10, so they've grown up seeing me do this every year. I can try and tell them to do things, but we all know how that goes. Yeah, a bit of hit and miss.
It's not always good.
With you two, yeah, you've got two big boys.
Yeah, I've got two boys.
Yeah. So I just try and demonstrate or just try and live a life that they can sort of glean their own experiences out of as well. So even from a young age, I've taken them to the school a few times, mainly the Currimundi Special School. And one of the things that actually struck me there, and this sort of started on this whole thing of going from sympathy into empathy and then into celebration actually around this, was the principal, Alan Green, was showing me through, and we got to a room there and there was no kids there. And he went, "Oh, that's right, they're doing Meals on Wheels today." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, we send them up there and they help with Meals on Wheels." Wow. And I'm going, so here I am thinking we're doing great things for, kids who need our help.
Yes.
And they're in that environment and community, they're teaching them, hey kids, don't sit there like this waiting for everyone to do things for you. Go out and do something and contribute to the community as well. So in their own way, that's what they've been doing. As you get to know a lot of the parents and the families from the school as well as the teachers, you sort of start to realise that their life is a lot different to yours as a parent with healthy kids, and you've got it pretty easy in comparison, or you've got your challenges, but let's put it into perspective, they're a lot different. And so you start building a bit more, I guess, empathy and a bit more understanding as your knowledge broadens a bit, and you sort of see what the real lifestyle of those people are. And one of your past guests, Janice Glassett,
yes.
the other week was in, and she spoke about Jenny Wren, her daughter, who's now 41 or so.
That's right.
And so you can see that their level of involvement as a parent is quite, I guess, exhausting.
Yes, intense and ongoing.
There you go.
Yeah. It doesn't ever actually stop, does it?
No, not at all. So, that's where you start to build a lot more empathy and think, okay, how can you make a realistic difference or help people in that situation? And so for the Island Charity Swim, it's a great way to funnel that energy into something that does really good. There's a lot of people who do great things off the back of that Island Charity Swim.
So what sort of things would you see? Because I think that one of the first outcomes was a bus for the Nambour Special School, wasn't it, in those early days?
Yeah.
What other things have come out of that?
Yeah, so since then a lot of things have happened, and a lot of other people have thrown their hat in the ring as well to help out. So a hydrotherapy pool was built down there at Currimundi Special School. So that's just a game changer for them, because kids are in this environment where they're not weighted down by gravity so much, and there's a whole different way that, because those kids have the same challenges that normal kids have, that, they're on screens and stuff as well, they're not necessarily exercising and that, and then you throw the fact that they're in a wheelchair or hard to move or don't have that confidence in doing it, then something like that hydrotherapy pool really helps out and brings them out, and you can see it, and you talk to the teachers who take them in there and they say, hey, they're just different kids in there, their character comes out, and they're able to express themselves in different ways and everything. So that's certainly a big part of some of the changes there. And then there's things like sensory playgrounds and sensory rooms they do, and because a lot of these kids, the communication is very difficult or non-existent or non-verbal anyway, and in those different environments they find ways to communicate, and their ability to, I guess, interact with the world expands. And I think that for those educators that are there, they just try and constantly create an environment where these kids are just challenged and actually, forced to, or, encouraged to learn in their own way.
Sure, that's amazing, isn't it, when you think about the teachers in those situations, because teachers are, I have massive admiration for teachers anyway. And I've done some work with some of the special schools, including Currimundi, which joined the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden Foundation a number of years ago. So I was helping to support them build their program. And you see how much more the teachers give to their students in those sort of situations, don't you?
It certainly takes a special kind of person to work in that environment.
Yes.
I don't know if I could. I used to teach years and years ago, a little bit.
Okay,
But yeah, for me, I don't know if I could. I love interacting with the kids. I love seeing them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could be as dedicated as those people are and choose that as a profession. But they do an awesome job.
Yeah. What sort of things can people do to help? I mean, if they don't swim, like I'm not likely to swim around Old Woman Island and down to Mooloolaba. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
What could someone like me do to help?
Yeah, look, the actual day itself, there's certainly a lot of help that can go in because the whole thing exists basically on volunteers. We have a great Sunshine Coast company up here, Atlas Multisport, who handle all the logistics and financial insurance part of it.
Okay.
And then there's a truckload of volunteers that do everything from cooking fantastic meals. So when you get out of the water, you're well fed and everything for recovery, to all the logistics and helping out. So we've got everyone out there has their own has a boat and someone paddling next to them for safety, because you spread out over a long way.
Yeah,
it's not a race at all. So they just out you go. There's no lane markers. So you're out by yourself. You're a couple of kilometres offshore, looking where to get to.
Okay. I'm just letting that sink into my mind now.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that. That's quite an effort, isn't it, really?
It is, for the people who do that.
Yeah. But with that support crew, that makes it easier.
Absolutely, yeah.
What about kids? Are you getting kids involved in, are they doing the swimming as well? Or?
Yeah, look, one of the things that, Jason Crowther and Lisa Crowther brought in is some little kids events that are in the bay there at Mooloolaba.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great. I'd love to see, quite often there's kids from Nambour or Currimundi Special Schools down there, or there are quite a few all the time, and they get involved in things on the beach and that. Now they've started doing activities and games there, and that while everyone's out swimming, because it's not really much of a spectator sport. You sort of see a few people paddling on the horizon coming in.
Not very exciting.
It's exciting when everyone comes in. It's like, hey, another one made it. No one drowned. That's great.
I guess that's a good outcome. So how does the money actually get raised, though? So do people go, I'll give you $5 for every kilometre that you swim, or how does that work?
Typically, so everyone who enters has to do their own fundraising.
Okay.
So for some the swimming's hard, for others the fundraising is hard.
Yeah.
So typically those people would find friends, relatives, anyone who would like to sponsor them, and that's just a come and do the swim and we'll give you some money thing. And there's so many businesses on the coast that help support that enter their own teams or at least get behind their workers or other people who get involved.
I really love that about the Sunshine Coast. I love it because it's small enough still that we feel like a community, don't we? And the businesses do come on because everyone in the community are customers or potential customers or employees or families of employees or that type of thing. Is that what you find when you're working with any of those businesses? Yeah,
I think I'm really fortunate in that I cross paths with a lot of businesses on the coast, like in my work role, and then also, let's call this socially or on this part. And you certainly find, once you find some people who tend to support a cause like this, they often have great relationships with other businesses who are like-minded, and you find that they help out each other in so many ways, not just supporting a cause like this, but helping each other grow businesses and things like that, or just helping people get together and make the most of what we've got, and really not protect in an insular way, but certainly make sure that the good things that we all live here or have moved here for continue to be the same. And you throw a few more numbers on, and we're a very fast-growing region, but if you can keep that same love for what we've got, our environment, the people and the interaction and the easeability of living, then that, sort of comes together really well. And
we should be right.
So, we'll keep going. It's all good.
Fabulous. So you'll be fronting up again when's the next race?
Well,
it's not a race, so when's the next swim?
So earlier, a few months ago it was.
Okay.
And so this year, just to sort of celebrate 11 years of doing it,
Yes.
I decided to cover the whole coast. So I ran from Noosa down to, well, it was going to be Mudjimba, but it was rough weather, so it was put in the bay at Mooloolaba.
Yes.
So started just before midnight, ran from Noosa down to Mooloolaba. And then we did the swim in the morning, and then with my sons, they jumped on their bikes and rode with me while I ran down to Caloundra, where I live. So
that's incredible.
that was great, covering the coast in a day.
God,
yeah,
that's amazing. What a fabulous thing that you've done.
So I sort of figure the swim itself is fantastic, and it is a real achievement for people to get out and do it as a part of a team or to do it individually. But for me, I've been doing it for 10 years, so I feel like
you have to up the
I want
ante
to
a bit,
challenge
yeah.
myself a bit more, because you don't want to get stagnant or just stay
Sure.
with where you are.
Yeah.
So I'll try and do something every year, just to make it a bit bigger, I guess. And by doing so, I know that it just I get more friends involved, and also get people who I haven't met before get involved. We've got a fantastic guy come down from Hervey Bay, who's a triathlon coach up there, and he brought a crew of people, and for this year, and great guy. And people like that just come out, people up from Brisbane every year, and stuff like that. It grows, and it sort of, I guess, morphs to where I guess my mindset has headed with this as well, in that sort of got from that sympathy to empathy, and now it's that celebration thing. And it's been a personal challenge to really understand that if you truly accept anyone for who they are, then these kids, as they grow into adults as well, you accept them for where they are and who they are. And it's probably a bit rude for us to judge them and say, oh, I feel really sorry for you because, you can't talk and you're in a wheelchair. Well, who's to say they're not living an awesome life? Yeah. And by coincidence, this is a really weird story, but my neighbour that I grew up next to in Brisbane for over 15 it's like 15 years we lived next door to each other. Her eldest son, who's now about 16, is totally non-verbal, wears nappies, in a wheelchair and everything. But she recently moved up from Brisbane, and he goes to Currimundi Special School now. And she just said, look, I could never go in, saw this, had to come here. Yes. Just made the decision in one afternoon. And when you speak, Louise is her name, and when she speaks of Will, her son, you listen to it, and she says, look, he shows me love in so many different ways. So as a parent, he's just like this great kid, and sure, he might be, a little rough some days like the other kids, and has significant health challenges, which they all live through. But no different to Janice and her daughter. They see what their children are, and see them grow into adults. And so I think for us, it's like celebrating that life as well. And who am I to say that you're living or that your life is a little less worthy of mine or my children because you don't have legs at work, or can't speak to me, or
that's
something.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You're completely right about that, and I think that's why it's important to have the ability for all of us to see that, so that we can appreciate everyone for who they are. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, Brendan, how can people find out more? Where can they go to find out more, to be involved? So the easiest place is just to look up the website, islandcharityswim.com.au. Okay. Yeah, or do any search on that. On Facebook, I've got a page there called 10 in 10 Swim. You just Google my name and swimming if you want to see some of the crazy stuff that goes around it, or that I'm interested in doing. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for joining me. It was wonderful to talk with you. It was fantastic. Fabulous. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. My guest today was Brendan Neal. There's plenty of opportunities to get involved in the Island Swim. Look it up. Be ready for next year. Maybe do some training. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Do you want me to stuff up? Will that make you feel better? And that's what we use as the outtakes.